breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And warmer Philly low, welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. We've got an excellent podcast for you as we're going to be joined in segment number 2 by a good friend of ours as we're chatting it up with William Boor, does such great work over at Action Network. Have to get his thoughts on what we've seen here in the first 2 months of the season. Now that we've got a full sample set, what has really been surprising to him, both in the positive and the negative. And then we'll take a look at some of these games for Friday in the final segment. Going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Friday as we touch them all. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one or two ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters CM, they mean does not matter. So as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Did not get in any Twitter/X questions today, but had a small but fun slate of baseball on Thursday. Let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
7-2, the Cubs get the job done over the Pirates for back-to-back wins. Lots of volatility here right now for the Cubs, but Ian Happ, he was not Appless. 12th home run season that comes out for Brandon Bedoy. 3 runs, 2 of which were earned in his inning of work as Paul Skeens. He looked a little bit more like Paul Skeens. Did give up 3 runs in 5 1/3 innings. He was really hurt by his fielding, though. Pair of errors out there in the field. Only one of those runs was earned. He punched out 10. From there, Mason Montgomery, 5 outs out of the bullpen. Squirrels. Yohan Ramirez got messed with. He gave up a run in an inning. And Colin Reyes had hit Parade to a solid start. Does give up a home run to Brian Reynolds. 5th home run of the campaign, but 2 runs allowed in 5 1/3 innings. From there, Hobie Milner, pair of outs out of the bullpen. Scoreless. Gil Theobar, scoreless inning. Trent Thornton was able to give you 2 shutout innings to be able to get the job done there. The Braves, they could have the best record in all of baseball. 10-2, they take down the Boston Red Sox. As for the Red Sox, Peyton Dooley, well, he rode the Dooley all the way to 4 2/3 innings, giving up 2 runs. From there, you had Taylor Guerrero giving it out of the bullpen. Squirrels. Danny Clune made the best of things, though. 3 runs given up out of the bullpen, did not get a single out. Greg Weisert, he gives up a pair of runs in an inning as it was a grand slam for Ronald Acuna Jr. 3rd home run of the campaign that really got him out of there. Ryan Watson would then give up a home run to Ozzie, Albies, 9th home run season. Watson gives up 2 runs over the course of his inning of work. Giovanni Morin, he gives up a home run in his 2 innings of work as Michael Harris gets his 13th home run of the season. Chris Sale, 2 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. From there, Tyler Kinley, a shutout inning along Dylan Dodd, the Dodd father, and Reynaldo Lopez was able to give you 2 scoreless innings as well. Red Sox now 23-32 and 9-19 at home thus far this season. That's not good for the Toronto Blue Jays. They were good enough to get the job done. 2-1 the final. Another solid start here from Patrick Corbin. Does give up a home run as it was home run number 6 of the season for Kobe Mayo. That's all they allow in 5 innings though. From there, Braden Fisher, Jeff Hoffman both lend a scoreless inning. And then you had Tyler Rogers, Louis Varland combined for 2 scoreless innings. Chris Bassett was very good in this one. He gives up 1 run over the course of 6 innings. Was taken deep by Andres Jimenez, 6th home run of the campaign. From there, Grant Wolfram, a scoreless inning. You did have Anthony Nunez give up a run in an inning that wound up being the difference as Cameron Weston in his MLB debut, he was able to land a scoreless inning as well, but Orioles not a lot doing at the plate as they strand 7 men on base. A lot doing for the Chicago White Sox though. 6-2, they're able to take down the Minnesota Twins. Simeon Woods Richardson, yet another rough start from 5 runs allowed in 2 2/3 innings. From there, you had 1 unearned run given up in 1 1/3 innings from Andrew Morris. Rest of the way, it was solid for the bullpen. Travis Adams, Taylor Rogers, Anthony Banda, Yandris Gomez, all into scoreless inning, but too little too late, and Davis Martin continues to be great for the White Sox. We're now 29-27, by the way, and 17-11 at home. Martin gives up 1 run over the course of 6 innings. Jordan leisurely does what he does best, gives up a run in an inning, but you had from there Tyler Davis, Grant Taylor, both lend a scoreless innings. So the White Sox, they stay above 500, and the Tigers are now tied with the Angels for the worst record in the American League. 7-1, the Tigers failed to get the job done here as they were up by kind of 1-0 going into the 5th inning, and then things went down the toilet bowl. Captain Jack Flaherty, captain of the SS, giving up 3 runs in 5 2/3 innings, punched out 9, and then from there, you have Brendan Hennefy give you a scoreless inning. Drew Summers, he was able to come in for an out of the bullpen scoreless, and Ricky Vanasco, he has not been good for the Tigers. 4 runs allowed in 2 innings. ERA now 15.63. When your ERA is a year that is past the Middle Ages, that's not good. And for Grayson Rodriguez, he did look pretty solid. Did give up a solo home run to Wencio Perez, 4th home run season. That's all that he would allow in 5 innings of work. And then Drew Pomeranz, Jose Fermin, Sam Bachman, Ryan Zephyrian, all able to end scoreless innings. And then the Astros, they polish off the night by getting the job done over the Walker Texas Rangers by a count of 5-1, and this was a game where if you had the over, this game was 5-1 in the top of the 3rd inning, and it ends 5-1, so that was pretty brutal there. Spencer Getty, no, not Mom Spaghetti, good start once again out of him. 1 run allowed over the course of 6 innings. That 1 run, solo home run to Josh Young, 6th home run of the campaign. And for the Rangers, pair of home runs, Isaac Paredes, 6th home run of the campaign. Jeremy Pena, his second. Both came in the 1st inning off of Nathan Eovaldi. He gives up 5 runs over the course of 7 innings, but again, all of those came in the first 3 innings. From there, Cal Quantrill, 2 shutout innings. On the side of the Astros, you had Nate Pearson, Stephen Okert, Anya de los Santos. I'll give you a pair of outside the bullpen squirrels. Brian DeRayu was able to clean things up with a scoreless 9th inning, and for the Rangers, they continue to lead the league in terms of fewest runs per game at home. So there's that aspect of things, and if you're taking a look at what we're all getting in baseball right now, we have really been seeing a lot of unders here in the last 7 days. Last 7 days, the under rate is 56%, 41 unders, 40 overs, and a push, and favorites are having a rough go of it. 45 and 43 on the money line over the last 7 days, and among those 45 favorites, 12 failed to cover the run line. Overall for the season, favorites hitting at 55.5%, 454 and 364 on the money line. 103 of those favorites failed to cover the run line. Meanwhile, the under rate back above 50%, 411 unders, 408 overs, so 50.2% on that under rate, and we have had 22 pushes along the way. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's where we're all getting trend-wise. Coming next, how about a video chatted up with our good friend William Boor over at Action Network right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSiN Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man, as we've got William Boor aboard. He's doing such an amazing job taking a look at this great game of baseball over at Action Network. I know that he's very dialed in with what we're seeing here, but pretty much anything bettable, they do it over at Action Network. The hot dog eating contest is about a month or so away. That makes me very happy. Everyone loves hot dogs, and it's a great part of baseball. I'm a little bit more of a Brock guy personally, but for William, he's a baseball guy, he's a football guy, he's a basketball guy. He does such great work on so many different fronts. You're able to follow him on the old Twitter/X at the letter W. His last name Boor, Boor, all together. And William, always appreciate it, my friend. Thank you.
Of course, Greg. Always happy to hop on, talk baseball, talk betting with you.
Awesome. I always appreciate you as well, William. And William, we've now gotten past Memorial Day, so we've got a nice sample size on these teams. And just what has stood out to you from the early part of the season? Because I do think that there's been a fair amount of surprises as far as this season, and I think that it's fair to say lots of volatility with a lot of these teams early on.
Yeah, I feel like certain teams have gone through 2 different seasons, so to speak. I'm looking at you, Philadelphia. Phillies definitely off to a slow start, but now of late, it's like, okay, this is the good team that we thought we were seeing. You know, Marlins got off to a fast start that was, I think we kind of knew there was a little bit of fool's gold in there. They've regressed a little bit now, you know, sitting at 5-ish games under 500, depending on where you're listening to this. So I think we're starting to find the water's maintenance level right now. We're starting to see teams who they are, whether that's the Phillies playing better, the Dodgers continuing to play good, which obviously, you know, we all saw coming. The Rockies are bad. I think the biggest surprise is that the Mets are still bad. I think there was a thought that maybe they would kind of turn it around or get something going, but I think we're probably at the point where it's like, hey, this team is not good. The A's maybe are a little bit more real than we thought. I don't know if they're, you know, necessarily a playoff team or going to win the division. I still like Seattle there, but I was low on them. But yeah, I think we're about, you know, a little 50, 60 games in. And I think all the teams we're starting to kind of see who they really are. And I think we've got some actual meaningful data now.
Yep, I think so as well. And one team that you left out, the Detroit Tigers, who are tied for last with the Los Angeles Angels in the American League right now. What do we make out of them? Because I think when it's all said and done, they're not going to be dead last in the American League, because I do think that Drake Skubal comes back at some point. But might be coming back for a different team at this point with the way that things have been a complete dumpster fire out there in Motown right now.
Yeah, I mean, Scuba will come back, but is he going to make one start with the Tigers too? Yeah, put them in the surprising disappointment category. They're another team that you kind of thought when they got off to a slow start, you're like, it's early season. We'll see what happens. It's just April, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, they're still bad. So that's definitely a shock. That division, I think it's probably slower to dump the Tigers than most because that division is always so close and always so mediocre that even when they were, slightly just a couple games under 500, you're like, they're fine. They're in the division. But Cleveland's, picking it up a little bit and Detroit's just keeps losing. And yes, there's 100 games left, but you never want to be 10 back.
Yeah, you certainly don't want to be, hey, they were 10 games up the division last year and managed to lose it, so I guess anything is possible, but boy, it is rough for them to say the least, as William Boor, who's doing such great work over at Action Network, is joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show, and I want to get your thoughts on this team as well, because one surprise that I really look at as well as the Washington Nationals, I think we both agree, they do not have the pitching to be able to make it to the postseason. Offense leads the league in terms of run creation. How do you take a look at this bunch? Because I feel like they're one of the toughest teams to gauge because outside James Wood along with CJ Abrams, they don't necessarily have a ton around them, but those two guys just continue to produce, and the Washington Nationals just continue to outslug teams.
Yeah, this is a fun team. Like you said, I don't think they're catching, the Braves or the Phillies over the course of the rest of the season. But this is a fun team, and this is a team that you can kind of pick your spots. If, you don't like the opposing pitcher, Nationals in a slugfest, Nationals over. Since we're really talking about Wood and Abrams, a fun yes-run first inning team to just kind of get in, get out, and not worry about, them pitching or the other stuff. Top of the order, first 5 overs. I think they're a fun team to kind of mix into some stuff and get creative betting wise. Because you're right, the pitching is not good, obviously, but the offense is, and they're scoring runs. And I think even if you don't want to bet them, I think it's just a fun team to watch because you got people hitting, you got people running on balls in the gaps. There's just a lot to like.
Yep, I'm right there with you. I do think that it's going to be fun to watch them for the rest of the season. Might be a little bit of, shall we say, a frustrating team to watch, but certainly going to be a fun one. As joining me on the show, we do have William Boor, who does such great work over at Action Network on the Baseball Betting Show, and I think that we can now assume that the San Francisco Giants are a team that looks pretty cooked out there, especially with the Arizona Diamondbacks heating up in the NL West. We know that the Padres and the Dodgers are going to be mainstay, and on Friday, they take on the Colorado Rockies with Logan Webb making his first start off the injured list. Coors Field, typically not the place where you want to do so, and the Giants are a minus 165, minus 175 favorite. Michael Lorenzen on the flip side for the Rockies. Any sort of a lean on this game, or do you just skip this altogether, not knowing what Logan Webb is going to give off the injured list? Because prior to going on the injured list, just did not look like the Logan Webb that we all know and love.
Yeah, this is a skip for all sorts of reasons. You get Logan Webb on the road. You get his first start back. You get Coors. You get the Giants laying a big number. So that keeps me off the Giants. And then what's keeping me off the Rockies is the Rockies. So I really just kind of want to see what Logan Webb looks like, but it's Coors, so I'm not even sure how much I'm going to be able to take from it. So I might need to see what Logan Webb looks like, and then I might need to skip but watch Logan Webb start, 5 days from now, and then finally get on or get off, 2 starts from now. I think it's just a weird spot where you kind of see what happens and you just move on.
Yep, I think that that's well said by you. And I personally am going to take a little bit of shot here on the Rockies, mainly because that Giants offense, boy, that has not been great to say the least. And this one I think is going to be very interesting as well. The White Sox have been an interesting team this year. You're getting them right around even money to plus money against a team that we alluded to in the Detroit Tigers who have not been good. Troy Melton honestly has some pretty good MLB numbers since coming up in 2025, going against Eric Fetty. How do you take a look at this one? Because Melton, I think, is a better starter here for the Tigers, but man, this is a Tigers team that just feels like they can't get out of their own way, and the Tigers offense has went straight down the tubes along with that pitching.
Whew. You are really starting with some ugly games. The Dodgers play the Phillies, right? No, I think I'm with you as far as the Tiger. It feels weird, especially everything we've seen over the past, 3-4 years to back the White Sox. But they're the better team right now. They're playing better. The Tigers might have the starting pitching edge, like you said, they probably do. But there's just something about the Tigers that you don't want to be on them. Plus, the other thing is, and I know, you don't want to always bet trends or anything like that, but the White Sox are 17-11 at home and Tigers 8-21 on the road. That's just, 8-21 is just incredibly bad.
Yeah, it is. And I will throw this in here as well. You know this, William. Money is money. It doesn't matter if you're betting on the worst game on the board or if you're betting on the best game on the board. They all cash the same. As we do have William Boor, does great work over at Action Network, joining me on the Baseball Betting Show. You requested it. We're going to go Dodgers versus Phillies here. And with Zach Wheeler, you're getting him right around even money. I'm seeing as good as a plus 104 out there against Justin Robelski, who's been highly effective for the Dodgers, but is only getting 5 strikeouts per 9 innings. I don't know your thoughts here, but I've loved what I've seen out of Wheeler since coming off the injury list, and I just feel like with the amount of contact that Robelski is giving, that he's doing for some regression, and I think that he's going to be hit hard at some point.
To your last point, they all cash the same, and you don't necessarily even have to watch. You can just put your money and go check it later. So that's another option as well for some of those ugly games. Phillies, Dodgers. Yeah, I'm on Philadelphia here. It's always weird fading the Dodgers, but Phillies have been playing well, just swept the Padres. They're already in Southern California. You don't have travel stuff. And like you mentioned, Wheeler, 3 straight starts of 6 or more innings, 1 earned run or less. He's throwing the ball really well. Robleski, again, throwing well the numbers, but like you said, ball in play. And this is an offense in Philadelphia that makes things happen. You either got, Trey Turner on the base pass, taking an extra base, stealing a base, whatever. You've got Schwarber hitting the ball out of the yard. Philadelphia will put the ball in play. They'll make you play defense. They'll make you do mistakes. And if Robelski's just going to keep letting people hit the ball, eventually that's going to bite him, probably in a bad way at some point. Is this that start? I don't know, but I'm going to take a shot on it.
Yep, and even if it isn't the start, Zach Wheeler can give you a good enough start to be able to win, even if they can only crank out a few runs against Robelski as well. So I'm in agreement with you there. And then I think this one's really interesting because for the Cubs, they have been miring in mediocrity over the last few weeks. And here's another nice surprise that we haven't talked about. The St. Louis Cardinals continue to be above 500. You're getting them at about plus 115, plus 120 on the money line at home. And Shota Imanaga has been absolutely awful in his last 2 starts. I want to get your thoughts here because Kyle Leahy is certainly not like some sort of a great starting pitcher or anything like that. Until I see a good start out of Imanaga, though, I don't know if I can lay this sort of a number with him.
Yeah, probably a pass for me because I know Imanaga has good stuff. I was on him for a couple starts early in the year, had a really good April. But, he hasn't just struggled lately. He's given up 15 runs over his past 10 innings. Oh. I feel like struggling is, 6 innings of 4 runs or something like that. But 15 runs over 10 innings is just awful. Now, as we're recording this, the Cubs are winning. Maybe they're about to get back on track. Maybe they blow this game in the 8th inning. Who knows? But Imanaga, the way he's throwing right now, I cannot get behind him. And if the Cubs are starting to get back on track, Leahy's not exactly the stopper that's going to shut down an offense. So this is probably a pass for me, especially when we have a full Friday slate.
Yep, you certainly do. And I think this one is a lot of fun as well, as we're going to be seeing Jared Jones for the first time since 2024, miss all of 2025 for the Pirates. He goes up against Taj Bradley, who's really been the bright spot for a Twins team that they don't support him with much else. His total is 8, and the Pirates are about minus 135, minus 140 favorites. I want to get your thoughts here because you've got a known very good pitcher in Taj Bradley who was pushed back today because I'm sure that they want to take some precautions with him, and I just can't bring myself to laying this sort of a number with Jones until I see a big league start or 2 out of him.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to be on Bradley here. 3 earned runs over his past 2 starts, 3 earned runs over 11 innings, 15 strikeouts, 4 walks. He's throwing the ball really well. Jones, can he be very good? Yes, we've seen him be electric, but we haven't seen it this year. Maybe he comes and he's peak who he was, and he throws 7 shutout innings, and we go, oops. But that's betting. I'm going to make him prove it to me, and I'm going to be on the Twins and Bradley in this spot.
Yep, I'm right there with you. And we've got ourselves a very locked and loaded slate here on Friday. Now, we don't know any sort of numbers right now with the Toronto Blue Jays because looks like they might need to go to Austin Voth as a starter. That's not necessarily a place where you want to be. But anything else that's really standing out to you from either a betting perspective or just a kickback and watch perspective?
I'm kind of interested in D-backs Mariners from watching, just a watching point with Gallen and Kirby. And then betting wise, I'm going to be on the Rays over the Angels, just backing Nick Martinez as he continues to carve through pretty much every lineup he faces.
Yeah, with Nick Martinez, he's not even getting like any strikeouts whatsoever. He's at like 5.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he's become the master of soft contact. He's been really good in terms of giving some nice starts. And for Wildberry Urania, I actually really like what I've seen out of him from the Angels, but he gives up walks. And when you get to the Angels bullpen, they've already thrown Alek Manoah and Jordan Romano out of that bullpen. That's all that needs to be said about how bad that bullpen is right now. So I'm right there with you. I took a run line on the Rays myself, and we always love having you aboard, William, because you do such a great job over at Action Network on so many different fronts. You love this game of baseball. You've been around it for so many years. So let the good people at home know what's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Of course, follow me on Twitter at WBoor, WBOOR, same handle on Blue Sky. And more importantly, follow me in the Action Network app at William Boor _, all one word. Everything that I bet is tracked there so you can follow or fade to your heart's desire. And then be sure to download our app, check out our website. We've got betting guides for every single MLB game, every WNBA game, NBA playoffs. I know those are winding down. Same with Stanley Cup Final. And if you're into it, we're going to have every World Cup game coming up too. So got that to look forward to in the next couple weeks.
Absolutely. World Cup coming out here to North America. That's going to be absolutely incredible. I wanted to do a World Cup of beers, but like half of the countries I can't find beers for, so that was very unfortunate. If anyone can find a beer from Qatar or something like that, please do let me know. But that said, I know that our guy William, he's doing such a great job over at Action Network on so many different fronts, and every single time he joins me, he lends such great insight. So big thanks to William for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the Decent Family Podcast. Coming next, it is that time of the podcast to give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Friday as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. It's always a pleasure to be joined by William Boor, who does such great work over at Action Network, looking at this great game of baseball that we all know and love. Over there at Action Network, they do a little bit of everything all so well, and every single time William joins me, lends such great insight. So big thanks to William for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Friday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that, as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at JUNet_81. We're going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first in time order, then the American League games in time order, any interleague games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice and clean and easy. Let's get things started. This is 901, 902 on the card. It's the Braves. They're going to be on the road against the Reds. Yes, we're on to Cincinnati. So on to Chris Paddock getting the start for them, and Grant Holmes goes for the Braves. Braves minus 134 to minus 145 favorites, and between plus 114 to a plus 122 is that number on Cincinnati with a total of 9.5. Under is minus 115, and the over is minus 105. And I did set my total at 9.6. I like the over for the Atlanta Braves, second in the big leagues in terms of run creation away from home, right around about 5.9 runs per game. And Chris Paddock has not been good this far this season. It was so bad that he got DFA'd by the Miami Marlins. Now, the fielding independent is about 2 points lower than the 6.86 ERA, but still, 1.3 home runs, 3.1 walks per 9 innings, only about 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. Grant Holmes in that neighborhood about 8 strikeouts per 9 innings, 1.5 bombs, 4.1 walks per 9 innings, but certainly is backed up by the better lineup for the Cincinnati Reds. You've got two main men that have really been carrying the mail for this team. Ellie De La Cruz, cousin Sal Stewart, 12 home runs apiece, both between 345 and 355 with regards to on-base percentages. Now, they are getting back in Eugenio Suarez. We remember the 49 home runs that he had last season. That helps. You still have a lot of guys that have been very suspect. The integrity of the catcher spot, TJ Friedel, some of these mix and match guys like a Reese Hines, they just have not been able to get on base. Brian Hayes hitting the injured list honestly is a good thing challenging for this offense. And you have had J.J. Bleday be able to give you about a 380 on base. Nathaniel Lowe has been pretty solid, as well as Spencer Steer, but still has been a little bit of an hit-or-miss offense. But as we know, it's Great American Small Park, and now it's starting to heat up as we're post-Labor Day. And for the Atlanta Braves, Ronald Acuna Jr. has not really been himself this far this season, but that grand slam yesterday might be able to get him going. You've been able to have Matt Olson do a great job with 13-plus home runs, along with Michael Harrison. Harris has been able to hit above a 300. Ori Mateo, Dom Smith, these guys are hitting between a 324 to a 325 apiece. Mauricio Dubon continues to move line. Heck, Austin Riley hasn't even been himself after he got injured last season. And for the Braves, this is a team with the far superior bullpen in this one. They're a top 7 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Dylan Lee, Racio Iglesias, Robert Suarez all give you a sub-3 ERA. Ronaldo Lopez gives you some long relief. Dylan Dodd, the Doddfather, sub-3 ERA. And for the Reds, they actually led the league in bullpen ERA through the first 4 weeks of the season. Now they're in the bottom 7 in the big leagues. Sonny Santillan, north of a 5 ERA. Sam Moll has been solid. Pierce Johnson, Brock and Roll Burke, both a sub-375 ERA, but these mix and match guys like DJ Antone have not been great. They're looking to Zachary Maxwell to hopefully give them a little bit of a shot in the arm, but do think that the Braves light Paddock Ablaze. I set my money line price at a minus 172. Like the Braves on the money line, and like that 9 after the over, so my total 9.6. 903, 904 on the card. It is the Padres on the road against the Washington Nationals. Paxton Schultz will be the opener for the Nationals, and Lucas Giolito goes for the Padres. Padres between minus 110 to minus 116 favorites, anywhere between minus 102 to a minus 110. Then around Washington. 9 is the total. Under is minus 115. Over is minus 105. Seeing once or 8.5. That over is minus 125. Under is plus 105. I do like the over. I did set my total at a 9.1. Now Paxton Schultz, again, he's probably only going to pitch 1 or 2 innings. As I do think that this is going to be sort of the poo-poo platter of pitchers sort of games, as Andrew Alvarez, he's going to be more of the bulk guy here for the Washington Nationals. By trade at the minor league level, he was a starter, but he's went 12 and 2/3 innings across 4 appearances as far this season. Really hasn't gone north of 4 innings, so have to have some question mark there. Now, in a very small sample size at the big league level of 36 innings, 250 ERA, 3 fielding independent, 0.5 home runs, 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, has looked solid. What is he going to do now that he's a little bit more of the main man here, though? And for Lucas Giolito, I felt like he was a little bit fortunate last year with the Boston Red Sox, 341 ERA, but closer to a 417 fielding dependent, 3.5 walks, 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. But still, I liked what he was able to bring to the table there. And thus far for the Padres, he's only made 2 starts, but has been effective. 3 runs allowed over the course of 10 innings. Strikeout stuff is way down. 4.5 strikeouts, 7.2 walks per 9 innings, and now he has to face an offense that's number 1 in the big leagues in all baseball in terms of run creation. So I do think that the Washington Nationals are going to be able to get theirs. You've got a pair of guys in James Wood along C.J. Abrams who have just absolutely clubbed the ball thus far this season for Wood. He's putting on their good Wood, 15 home runs over 400 on base. Abrams, 12 home runs, 390 on base. I have some question marks with some of the ancillary guys like Brady Owes, Jacob Young, Jose Tena. These guys hang between like a 220 to 235 without necessarily a ton of pop, but that said, Dallin Lyle's been able to give you 7 home runs, hitting about a 260. Luis Garcia's moving line. Keeper Ruiz starting to get on base a little bit more. Have to have a lot of question marks with this Nationals bullpen. They are in the bottom 8 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. For Schultz, he's been a little bit up and down this far this season. Got off to a really nice start to the season. He does enter this game with about a 5.30 ERA. He's been able to get some swings and misses, but Mitchell Parker's another long guy that supplies over a 5 ERA. Gus Farland has been a little bit all over the place. They are getting clean beater off the injury list. He and Dickie Lovelady have been able to give you a sub-3 ERA along with Orlando Revolta, but certainly that's an issue. And for the San Diego Padres, top 8 team in terms of bullpen ERA. I recognize that Audrey Monahono was not his self to begin the season, but he's been able to pick it up. And then you've got a really nice 8th and 9th inning duo, Jason Adam, Mason Miller. Both of these guys have been able to give you a sub-2 ERA. Ron Mandanaccio is a long guy. He's not great, but he's also not awful, and that's a weak link because Wandy Peralta's giving like a 2 ERA. Bradley Rodriguez, sub-2 ERA. You know that your bullpen is good, and I do think that Giolito does enough for the Padres to get the job done. And do think that in a larger role, Andrew Alvarez probably gets exposed a little bit more here, and recognize that for the Padres, it's been a rough lineup. They have been in the bottom 10 in the big leagues in terms of run creation, but typically they hit a little bit better away from home rather than at home. Manny Machado is up to 9 home runs, hitting just a $169 thus far this season. Need more out of Jackson Merrill, hitting right around the middle line of 200. Nick Castellanos has not been great. Fernando Tatis Jr. continues to give you 0 home runs. He's been able to get on base over last week, though. That's, I guess, a good thing. Miguel Andujar hitting about a 270, and Xander Bogaerts not being a complete waste of money has been solid. I do think that they get to the Nationals and what is going to be a wholesale approach here. Do like the Padres on the money line, willing to go up to a minus 122 there. And like the over, semi-total 9.1. 905, 906 on the card. It's the Marlins. They are going to be on the road against the Metropolitans. Freddie Peralta is on the bump for the Mets, and Max Meyer goes for the Miami Marlins. Marlins do find themselves as underdogs between even money and plus 108, minus 120 to minus 130. That number on the Metropolitans with 7 to 7.5 being the total. On the 7, over is minus 120. The under is even. On the 7.5, under is minus 120, and the over is even. And I'm going to be willing to lay with the Mets. I did set them at a minus 141. Now, Max Meyer has gotten off to a really nice start to the season here for the Fish, as he's been able to supply a 2.52 ERA, 10.1 strikeouts, 0.6 home runs allowed per 9 innings. Got to be a little bit wild with about 3.3 walks per 9 innings, but I mean, the big thing is the home and road splits. 179 ERA, 0.2 home runs allowed per 9 innings at home, 1.3 home runs allowed per 9 innings, 398 ERA away from home. Meanwhile, for Freddie Peralta, he is giving up the 4 walks per 9 innings, but 3.52 ERA, 9.2 strikeouts per 9 innings, which honestly for him is very, very low, and he's backed up by a solid bullpen. Both of these teams are solid. For the Mets, they are number 8 in the big leagues with regards to bullpen ERA, 328. Marlins are 330, so a relative stalemate there. And for the Miami Marlins, they have had a few guys act up this season. Andrew Nardi above a 4 ERA. Michael Peterson's been a little bit up and down, and now they're getting Pete Fairbanks off the injury list. He was brutal to start off the season, but do think that he's going to find it sooner rather than later. But Anthony Bender has been around back into form. Calvin Fauché, a little bit up and down, but these guys like Tyler Phillips and company as long guys, Sean King, have been very good for the Marlins. Not a team that's going to absolutely just knock the snot out of the ball, as they're a bottom 5 team in terms of home runs out of per at-bat basis. Main guy's been Liam X, 11 home runs. He's been able to hit about a 265 for you. Have a lot of guys that move the line though. Xavier Edwards, Otto Lopez, both of these guys hitting well above a 300. Javier Sanja more around about a 275, but it is the bottom of the lineup. The guys like Roberto Hernandez, Owen Casey, Connor Norby, Kyle Sowers, hitting at 230 or lower. Sowers just has not been himself this far this season, so we'll need to see that. Mack at the catcher spot has been a bit of an issue as well. For the Mets, guys not named Juan Soto have been a big disappointment in the lineup this far this season. Soto's doing his part. 12 home runs and 143 at-bats with nearly 4 on base. That'll play, but nobody else on the roster has more than 6 home runs, and other than A.J. Ewan on a day-in and day-out basis, you typically don't have anyone else in the lineup that is giving you above about a 322 on base. I think that MJ Melendez is there, but even with that 322 on base, he's hitting a 203. Like, you need more out of these guys like Marcus Semien, along with Bo Bichette. Obviously, the injuries have really piled up to the likes of Luis Robert and company, but man, they're just getting nothing out of the catcher spot as well, so that's a bit of an issue, but I do like the way that bullpen is rounding into form. Now, Devin Williams just continues to be awful. You've had Luke Weaver have his ups and downs as far this season, but he's back to about a 3 ERA. Oscar Brisbane, Brooks Raley, Andrew Warren, these are guys give you a sub 3 ERA. Tobias Myers has been a presentable long guy, so I do think that for the Mets, they get the job done in a little bit of a lower scoring game. I set my total at 7.3. Between a 7 to a 7.5, I personally would rather have a 7.5 to the under rather than a 7 to the over, so looking at a 7.5 under, and the Mets here on the money line. 907, 908 on the card. It's the Cubs. They are going to be on the road against the St. Louis Cardinals. Kyle Leahy goes for the Cards, and Shota Imanaga is on the bum for the Cubs. Cubs minus 135 to minus 142 favorites, plus 113 to plus 120. That is your number on St. Louis, with 8 to 8.5 is the total. And the 8.5 under is minus 120. The over is even on the 8. Over is minus 110 to minus 115. Under is minus 105 to a minus 110. Willing to take shot here on the Cardinals. Was willing to take plus 120 or better for Kyle Leahy. Has he been necessarily amazing? No, but he's been much better at home rather than away from home. For Mr. Leahy, he is posting up in the area that's right around about a 444, 494 fielding dependent, 1.4 home runs, 3.9 walks per 9 innings, but his ERA lowers to 354 at home, and he has yet to give up a home run at home thus far this season as well. Meanwhile, you've got a guy in Imanaga in his last 2 starts, 5 home runs, 15 runs allowed across 10 and a third innings. Just not great, to say the least, for the Cubs. Big giant rough for them. Now, they were able to get out of it with that win on Wednesday against the Pittsburgh Pirates, so they're not on a total losing streak coming into this game, but man, still has not been great, to say the least. It just feels like everyone's relatively the same in this lineup. Entering into yesterday, you only really had one hitter above a 260 with regards to the average. That'd be Alex Bregman. Really, nobody outside Dansby Swanson below about a 310 on base, so they're finding ways on, but it just feels like they're not driving guys in. Ian Happ has been able to give you 10 home runs this season, and Say Suzuki had 7 home runs right away since coming off the injury list, but he has been in a little bit of funk recently ever since Pete Armstrong had the comments that one lady. They have not been great to say the least, so that's been a little bit of an issue. And for the Cubs, it feels like it's an up and down bullpen. They're right around about 11th to 12th in the big leagues. In terms of bullpen ERA, and they are getting healthier. Caleb Thielbar has been able to give you a sub-3 ERA since beginning part of last season. He dealt with some injury. You've had Phil Matone be awful for this team, but Homie Milner, sub-3 ERA. Jacob Webb has been solid along. Daniel Palencia. Meanwhile, you've had a Cardinals team that has been relatively rough with their bullpen, but it feels like they're finding their sea legs. A DFA Matt Savanson, that's a good thing to do because he was awful, but Jojo Romero, sub-350 ERA. Riley O'Brien has been solid. Ryan Stanek, want to avoid him at all costs, but Gordon Gesefo is giving you a sub-2 ERA. And for the Cardinals, league average team with regards to run creation, they've been much more lethal away from home rather than at home, but Jordan Walker's give you 15 home runs and is hitting at 300. Got plenty of guys moving the line like Alec Burleson, JJ Weatherall, both had a 351 on base, a combined 16 home runs. Von Herrera has been able to give you about a 390 on base. Now, a few of these guys like Victor Scott, Pedro Baez, whenever you throw out there, Thomas Segizzi, they're hitting below a 220 with not a lot of on base, but still, I do think that the Cardinals do get to Imanaga here, who's been really struggling, so I do like the Cardinals here on the money line at a plus 120 or greater. Did set a total of an 8.1. Right now, we're mostly seeing 8s. I'm going to be willing to take an 8 to the over. 909, 910 on the card. The San Francisco Giants are on the road. They're facing off against the Colorado Rockies as Michael Lorenzen is on the bump for the Rockies, and Logan Webb is back off the injury list for the Giants. Giants minus 155 to minus 171 favorites, plus 140 to plus 145. That number on Colorado. 10.5 is the total. Over and under anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115, and I do like the under here. I did set my total at a 10.2 for Logan Webb. I think that he's going to be better than he was towards the beginning part of the season, though I do think that it's going to take him a few starts to be able to find his sea legs, and for his career, Logan Webb has a ERA that's more than a full point higher away from home rather than at home, and as we know, Coors, it certainly does elevate offense. Was probably unlucky to start the season in his 8 starts for Logan Webb, 5.06 ERA, but a 3.53 fielding dependent. Strikeout stuff has been down. Now 7.9 strikeouts per 9 innings, but also doing a pretty solid job not hurting himself. 0.8 home runs, 2.8 walks per 9 innings, which that's more walks than he typically gives out, but still not very bad. And then on the other end of things, you've got a guy in Michael Lorenzen who has been relatively awful at home this far this season, but I think that he's going to be able to round into form. It's a little bit of an adjustment pitching at Coors Field. 7.21 ERA, 5.14 fielding dependent, so there should be some positivity there. 1.7 home runs, 3 walks allowed per 9 innings. Again, you go to those home and road splits, and he's been a presentable pitcher away from home. I'm not going to call it great, but when he's been away from home, 5.04 ERA away from home, he's given up about like 1.5, 1.6 home runs per 9 innings. At home, he's given up darn near 3 home runs per 9 innings, and he's got a 10.03 ERA. Do you think that that goes, shall we say, southward? Because right now you're facing off against a Giants team that out of 30 teams, they're 30th in terms of run creation. William Adames, Rafael Devers, both giving you about 7 to 8 home runs apiece. Neither guy giving you above a 300 on base. That's a big Giant issue. Now, Casey Schmidt has been able to do a nice job stepping up for this team. He's right now supplying 12 home runs, and on base percentage that's above a 350, so you like to see that. And you've got guys that are moving the line. Now, Jung-Ho Lee is on the injury list. That hurts you, but been able to get some relatively good production out of Luis Arias, who continues at about a 325. You have had Devers and Adames, even though they don't give you much on base, both hitting now about a 240, so that's been a little bit better, but Harrison Bader, a 196 on base. Drew Gilbert is giving you nothing out there in the outfield. Daniel Sucic has been solid at the catcher spot, but they're going to need a little bit more. Good news for the Giants, they are a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA. You've had a lot of long guys be able to step up in this bullpen. JT Brubaker, along with Keaton Wynn, throwing their Caleb Killian. These guys give you a sub-3 ERA. Matt Gage, these guys have all been relatively solid. For the Colorado Rockies, Antonio Senzatel's actually been really good. He's been able to give you a sub-2 ERA, but now you've got Victor Vodnik and Jimmy Harrogate currently on the injury list. The likes of Zach Ognos and company just have not been great. Ognos is right now supplying a 6.25 ERA. Seth Alverson, Blas Castano, they've been able to give you a sub-4 ERA. Jaden Doe has not necessarily been too bad either, but do think that there's positivity here for Lorenzen, and additionally, I think that Logan Webb looks a little bit better than he did prior to going on the injury list, but still not fully himself. I set my money line price at a plus 144, so plus 145 or better, like the Rockies. I like the under, set my total at a 10.2. 9-11, 9-12 on the card. It's the Phillies. They're going to be on the road against the Dodgers. Justin Robelski is on the bump for the Dodgers, and Zach Wheelan and Dylan Wheeler goes for the Phillies. The Phillies find themselves as an underdog here, and we're between even money to plus 104, minus 114 to minus 120 is that number on the Dodgers. 8.5 is the total. Under is minus 120. The over is even, seeing some 8s. Over is minus 115. Under is minus 105. I like the Phillies here on the money line. I did set them at a minus 102. I made them the very, very slim favorite. I was willing to take even money or better for Zach Wheeler. He has come off the injury list and he hasn't skipped a beat. Strikeout stuff is a little bit down, closer to about 8.6 strikeouts per 9 innings. You typically expect him to hover a little bit closer to a 10, but still, 1 home run allowed in 37 2/3 innings, 1.8 walks per 9 innings. He's got things rocking and rolling. For Justin Robelski, he's pitching to a ton of contact. He's only been able to get about 5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but still, 3.07 ERA, half a home run, 2.3 walks per 9 innings. And with the Dodgers, they've been one of the best offenses in all of baseball, but still, they're averaging a full run at per game less at home rather than away from home. Away from home, about 6.07 runs per game. That leads the big leagues, more like 4.57 runs per game at home. And you've got plenty of guys that are finding a way to be able to get on base for the Dodgers, and you've been able to get some good functional power out of Max Muncy and Andy Paz. Both of these guys have been able to give you 12 to 13 home runs apiece, and both in the neighborhood of a 350 to a 360 on base. Kyle Tucker, just 4 home runs this far this season. You expect a little bit more, and I think they're going to get it moving forward. For Freddie Freeman, he had a home run a few days ago, 370 on base. Shohei Ohtani, down with the power, but still 400 on base. You love to be able to see that. Will Smith, he hasn't been as jiggy with it as he was last season, but feels like he's rounding into form as well. And for the Dodgers, this has been a team that's been number 1 in the National League in terms of bullpen ERA. You've got Tanner Scott looking like the Tanner Scott of a few years ago when he was one of the best relievers in all of baseball. Obviously, they're dealing with the injury to Edwin Diaz, but you've had other guys be able to step up, like a Kyle Hurd, Will Klein. These have been guys that have been able to give you a sub-2 ERA. Even Jake Eater, in the small amount of appearances that he's gotten, he's been solid. And for Robelski, he does a nice job in terms of hurting himself, but you do have to wonder if there's going to be a little bit of regression here, as it feels like the Phillies offense starting to get it back into a little bit of better form. Trey Turner down for what? Pair of home runs over the last 7 days. Now, you've got really the entire infield for the Phillies outside of your main guys, Bryce Harper, along with Kyle Schwarber, who they're typically not playing in the infield, being able to give you just not much of anything whatsoever, because I mentioned Turner. He's right now hitting at 226. Bryson Stott's hitting at 225. Alec Boehm is hitting right around 200. The catcher spot, all of them have just been an issue for the team. And Adolis Garcia, I don't know why they signed him. He's been a waste, but I am Bryce Harper, 13 home runs, 360 on base. Kyle Schwarber on base for well over 225 strikeouts, but 21 home runs and 353 on base. That'll play. You need a little bit more on Justin Crawford, but bullpen has been a little bit better recently. Yohan Duran has been able to spy a sub-3 ERA. I like what Orion Kirkering has been able to bring to the table as well. You can tell that Jose Alvarado has not been the same since the drug suspension. He and Tanner Banks, both above a 550 with regards to their ERA. Brad Keller, a little bit up and down. He and Tim Meza right around about a 380 to a 390 ERA, but I do think that Zach Wheeler just goes out there, gives you a relatively good performance. I like the Phillies on the money line at even money or better. I did set my total here at an 8.3 on the 8.5. I do like this total to the under. 9.13, 9.14 on the card. It's the Toronto Blue Jays. They are going to be on the road against the Baltimore Orioles. We do know that Trevor Rogers is going to be in the neighborhood for Baltimore. Right now, it reads to be determined on the bump for the Blue Jays. This is a game that's presently off the board, and right now, Fangraphs is projecting Austin Voth. What that tells me is that you're going to get a poo-poo platter of pitchers here for the Toronto Blue Jays, so I've handicapped it as such. I have made, as a result, the Orioles a minus 143 favor. We'll lay to minus 142 there, plus 144 or better in on the Blue Jays, and then set a 12.9.1, 9 or less. I like the over, 9.5 or higher, the under. Wouldn't doubt it if you do see Austin Voth in a relatively, shall we say, substantial appearance. That said, you just don't know what you're going to be able to get out of him. He did not pitch at all at the big league level in 2024. He's made one appearance here in 2026, gave up 1 run in 2 2/3 innings. Really hard to draw any conclusions from that whatsoever. For his career, 469 ERA, 467 fielding dependent, and let's call it what it is. This is a Blue Jays bullpen that the short guys are solid. Like, you've got Braden Fisher along with Louis Varland and Tyler Rogers. These 3 guys have been able to give you a sub-3 ERA, but Uriel Rodriguez has been all over the place since coming off the injury list. Jeff Hoffman is posting up an ERA that's hovering right around a 5. They just have not been able to find these guys that can hold down the fort and give you a few innings, and they are really at a loss for long guys. They had to get rid of Eric Lauer, so that was not great. Tommy Nance, he's been able to give you about a 3.86 ERA, but this should be a mix and match game, and I have question marks if Voth is your main long guy. And for the Blue Jays, I do expect some positivity with this offense. They're a top 3 team in terms of field strikeouts on a per at-bat basis. They just haven't been able to hit the deep ball. You have not gotten a lot of of that Vlad Guerrero Jr. continues to give you like a 390 on base, but only 3 home runs this season. Nathan Lukes, along with Jesus Sanchez, Ernie Clement, these guys are in between about a 282 and 295. George Springer starting to round into form after a rough start to the season, and he began the season on the injury list. Andres Jimenez down to less than a 275 on base, but did go deep yesterday, and Kazuma Okamoto really doesn't move the line, but he's been able to give you a double-figure amount of bombs this year. Meanwhile, Gunnar Anderson, he's just like Okamoto. He's been able to give you 13 home runs, but 274 on base going into yesterday. And then Taylor Ward, he had 30-plus home runs last year with the Angels, 2 this season, but a 394 on base. That'll play for this team. You've got Samuel Basayo, Adley Rushman, both hitting about at 270 for this team. Leody Taveras starting to move the line, but you do have some albatrosses in this lineup, the likes of Clone Cowser, Tyler O'Neill, Kobe Mayo. These are guys hitting at 215 or lower. They've dealt with a lot of injuries all throughout the season as well, so that's been a problem. And for the Orioles, it is a problem what we've been seeing out of this bullpen as well. Currently a bottom 7 team in terms of bullpen area. This despite the fact that Yerner Cano, along with Uncle Rico Garcia, have been able to give you a sub-2 ERA. Diedrich Enns, still respectable. He's been able to give you about a 3.95 ERA. Grant Wolfram hasn't necessarily been awful, but Anthony Nunez, darn near 5 ERA. Andrew Kittredge, along with Keegan Aiken, have been awful since coming off the injury list. And for Trevor Rogers, when he's in the neighborhood of giving up runs right now, he should be seeing a lot of positivity here. Right now, he's rocking a 6.96 ERA. Fielding dependent is significantly lower than this. Now, he does need to work on the walks. Last year, he was pretty good with his command. He's over 3.5 walks per 9 innings, but I mean, 1.2 to 1.3 home runs per 9 innings should not elicit a 6.96 ERA, so I do think that he bounces back a little bit here with the Orioles willing to lay up to minus 142 with them, plus 144 or better looking at the Jays, and then 9 or less like the over 9.5 or the under. 9:15, 9:16 on the card. It's the Angels. They're going to be on the road against the Rays. Nick Martinez goes for the Rays, and Wilber Yarena is on the bump for the Angels. The total on this game, it is 8, over and under both at minus 110. For the Rays, they're between minus 170 to minus 185, plus 145 to plus 155. That's your number on the Halos. And with the Rays, I did set their money line price at a minus 188. I was willing to take plus 110 or better on the run line. Right now, seeing that between plus 115, even high as plus 130. I'm going to be willing to take a shot there. Now, I actually do like the stuff of Wilber Yarena. The biggest thing is, I just fear he knocks himself out of the start early. 258 ERA, but closer to 367 fielding dependent. 8.5 strikeouts, 0.5 home runs per 9 innings. That's fine. Here's the issue. 5.2 walks per 9 innings, and the Angels' bullpen is absolutely terrible. They're a bottom 4 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Like, they've been throwing out there Alek Manoah and Jordan Romano. Like, that's when you know you're going the wrong way down a one-way street. They signed Taijuan Walker a few days ago. I guess one team's trash is the next team's next LA Angel, because man, they're signing some rough guys. Nick Sandlin has over an 11 ERA. Ryan Johnson has an ERA of a 15. Kirby Yates has outbeen himself since coming out the injury list. Like, you just go down the list. I guess Sam Bachman, along with Jay Silseth, have been able to give you a sub 350 ERA, but man, it's been bad. Now for the Angels, this has been a lineup that has been in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of run creation away from home. Zach Neto is up to 10 home runs at a 341 on base. Mike Trout 13 bombs, continues to give you a 4 on base, but all or nothing team. Ori Soler 2 home runs over the last like 30 or so days, back below a 300 on base. Josh Flo has been hitting below the mid-dose line of 200. Yoel Moncada's on the injury list, and when he was playing, he wasn't doing much. Bryce Diodiso, he's been giving you absolutely nothing whatsoever. These guys at the bottom of the fold have been just absolutely terrible. And for the Rays, this team is a top 12 team in terms of run creation, and you've been able to have Junior Caminero do a nice job in terms of leading the way. Last year he had 44 home runs, back on base for 35 pluses. He's got 13 bombs this far this season, 350 on base, and then Andy Diaz, Jonathan Aranda, both above a 380 on base, combined 17 home runs out of those two guys. They don't necessarily have a ton of boppers or anything like that, but Chandler Simpson, he hits a 300 with 14 stolen bases. He does a great job moving the line there. Johnny DeLuca, along with Ben Wilson, are hitting about a 270, along with Richie Palacios. Now, DeLuca dealing with a little bit of an injury, but you got Nick Fortes stepping up, and for the Rays, this bullpen was all sorts of brutal to begin the season, and you are dealing with an injury to Cole Sulzer, but still, you've been able to have quite a few guys be able to step up. Hunter Biggie has been a little bit up and down, but Kevin Kelly has been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. The other former Oriole in Brian Baker has been giving you about a 240 ERA. You've had Trevor Martin in a few appearances look relatively solid. They now have Griffin Jackson doing a great job as a starter after he was failure in the bullpen, so things have really gotten sorted out there. And for Nick Martinez, no doubt about it, there should be a little bit of regression to the fact that he's got a 151 ERA. He's getting 5.4 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he doesn't beat himself. He only gives up about 0.6 to 0.7 home runs per 9 innings, 2 walks per 9 innings. Fielding independent is more around about a 3, so it's double middle of the ERA, but still, I do think that the Rays go out there, get the job done. I'm willing to take plus 110 or better on the run line, like the under. Semi-total at 7.8, 917, 918 on the card. It's the Red Sox. They're going to be on the road against the Cleveland Guardians. Slade Sassoni goes for the Guardians. For the Red Sox, it should be Brian Bayo in some form or capacity. We just don't know if he's going to be the starter or the opener. Right now with the Guardians, between minus 112 to minus 120 is the number there. Between minus 102 to a plus 102 on Boston. Total on this game is an 8. The under is minus 115, and the over is minus 105. And I did semi-total at 8.2. I do like the over. For Slade Sassoni, he's looked much better recently, but man, it has been a rough season for he and Bayo. So, I mean, if you don't get Brian Bayo, this is not really going to be any sort of a downgrade whatsoever for the Boston Red Sox, as there's still a little bit of TBD on his front. But that said, with Mr. Brian Bayo, assuming he pitches in some form or capacity, 6.43 ERA. To his credit, he's given up 0 or 1 runs in 3 out of his last 4 appearances, so it's getting better, but still 558 fielding dependent, 1.8 home runs, 3.9 walks per 9 innings, and he's only getting about 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. So you've had a myriad of different issues there. And then for Slade Sassoni, it's just a case where he's been getting hit really hard as well. Right now, supplying about a 5.18 ERA, 1.4 home runs per 9 innings, 3.1 walks per 9. So you've got a lot of issues there. Now, for both of these teams, they're backed up by relatively solid bullpens. The Guardians have taken a little bit of a step back. They're more of a league average team with regards to their bullpen ERA. For the Red Sox, they are a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA, though you've been dealing with a little bit of an injury to Garrett Whitlock, but Justin Slayton, since coming out the injury list, has been solid after a rough start to the season. Greg Weissert, he's been able to do a nice job. Tyler Seminaijo has been able to give you sub-3 ERA, and then you've got Aroldis Chapman, who's one of the best closers in all of baseball. Meanwhile, for the Guardians, Hunter Gaddis has not been himself. Began the season on the injury list. He's still rocking an ERA that is above a 4.50, but it's getting better by the day. Cade Smith, after a rough start to the season, below a 3 ERA. Cody Hewer has been solid along with Eric Zabrowski. Both of these guys give you a sub-2 ERA, and for the Cleveland Guardians, averaging over 4.5 runs per game here in the month of May. Hasn't necessarily been the guys that you'd expect, as right now your leader in home runs is Ana Martinez with 9. He's been able to about a 250, not a lot of on base. You need more out of Jose Ramirez, Steven Kwan, these guys hitting at 230 or lower. For Ramirez, 8 home runs at a 343 on base. You just expect a little bit more there. Reese Hoskins, even though he's got a 335 on base, hitting below the Bedell sign of 200. Chase Lauder has not really been hitting for a lot of power, but still give you a 340 on base. Daniel Sheeman, he's been a guy that's been able to move line. And Brian Rokiel, giving you a 380 on base. That's been pretty solid as well. And for the Red Sox, this has been a bottom 7 team in terms of run creation. Did feel like they found a little bit more of their sea legs against the Atlanta Braves. Obviously, a little bit of a rough go of it on Thursday, but you still have quite a few guys that are underachieving. Jaron Duran has been able to kick it up a little bit, but still 280 on base, honestly, a ton of power. The guys that have really been good for this team, Wilder Abreu, Wilson Contreras, they've both been able to do a nice job moving the line. For Abreu, 350 on base, 6 home runs. You'd want maybe a little bit more. Contreras, double figure amount of bombs, about a 380 on base, but then you've got Nick Sogard, who's been able to give you about a 370 on base. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, actually hitting a 300. He's turning back time. So Don Rafael has been able to move line, but still, Caleb Durbin has been awful in the infield. Carlos Narvaez and the rest of the catcher spot has been not so great, to say the least, as well. So do you think that for the Red Sox, they're starting to find it a little bit more on offense, assuming that you get Bayo and like a poo-poo platter of pitchers, maybe an opener for the Red Sox? I did set my money line here at a minus 117 on the Cleveland Guardians. So right now, what we've got right now, I'm starting to see a minus 115 out there. We'll be willing to go up to a minus 116 with the Cleveland Guardians on the money line, and do like the over as well. 919, 920 on the card. It's the Tigers. They're going to be on the road against the White Sox. Eric Fetty-Wap is on the bump for the Southsiders, and Troy Melton is on the bump for Detroit. Detroit favorites of between minus 115 to minus 124. Even money to plus 106 is that number on the White Sox. 8.5 is the total. Under is minus 115 to minus 120. Over is even to minus 105, and I do like the over here. I did set my total at an 8.7. Recognize that for the Detroit Tigers, this has been an awful offense. They're currently in the bottom 5 of the big leagues in terms of run creation. The injuries to Javi Baez, Gleyber Torres have just really piled up for this team. Throwing their Kerry Carpenter being out of the fold as well, because you just look at the bottom of the lineup right now. Spencer Torkelson, Wencio Perez, whenever they throw out there, Jake Rogers at the catcher spot, pretty much the entirety of the catcher spot, Matt Vierling, Zach McKinstry, Gage Workman, Jahmai Jones. Like, all these guys are hitting a 210 or lower. All these guys below a 275 with their on base, aside from Torkelson, and Torkelson is only giving you like 7 home runs this far this season. Dylan Dingler has been your main man, give you 10 home runs. Kevin McGonigal, Cole Keith, these are guys hitting at 290, and Riley Green moves the line. He's down with his power a little bit, but still has been acceptable. But with the Tigers, I do think that they find it a little bit more against a guy in Fetty. I recognize that 2 years ago, when he was with the White Sox initially, he was so much better at home rather than away from home, but 5.47 ERA, and he's honestly lucky to have that. 631 fielding dependent, 2.2 home runs, 3.6 walks per 9 innings, 5.7 strikeouts per 9 innings, but it's also hard to have faith in Mr. Melton as well. Now, for Melton, he's backed up by a relatively okay bullpen, but now they're starting to have injuries pile up as well, and when you've got Kenley Jansen as your closer, man, that's not a place where you want to be. You're going to need Brendan Hennepy, who's been able to give you a sub-350 ERA to be able to step up. I like what I've been seeing out of some of these younger guys, but they had to throw out there yesterday. Ricky Vanasco has been posting up an ERA that's hovering right around about a 15. You've got Will Vest, since coming off the injury list, he hasn't necessarily been great. Tyler Holden has posted up an ERA right around about a 4. Kyle Finnegan has been solid, but overall, lots of issues here, and I believe that Jansen is probably going to be hitting the injury list. Honestly, not the world's worst thing for this Detroit Tigers team. And then for Troy Melton, it's a case where he's seen some appearances at the big league level. He's been a starter that's been off and on throughout his career. I think that only 4 or 5 of his career 17 appearances have been as a starter. 2.63 ERA, but a 4.49 fielding dependent, 6.8 strikeouts, 3.2 walks per 9 innings. He's really lucky that he hasn't given up more runs throughout his career than he has. So I think that he's going to be had a little bit here. You look at what he did at the minor league level this season. Very good. 1.54 ERA. He's getting 12.3 strikeouts and 1.5 walks per 9 innings. That was 4 starts in 11 and 2/3 innings. So I don't think that he's going to be able to give you a whole heck of a lot of length here. That's going to be an issue for this Tigers team against the White Sox team that has been pounded the crud out of the ball. They have become a top 12 team in terms of run creation. Now, they can be very much all or nothing. Montaka Murakami, 20-plus home runs, only getting about a 242, but that on-base percentage is a 381. Colson Montgomery, Miguel Vargas, both hitting either a 231 or a 232. But again, both of these guys, 11-plus home runs thus far this season. Now, you do have guys like Tristan Peters, Chase Meadroth moving the line for above a 340 on base, and Sam Antonazzi about a 385 on base. So that's been encouraging. White Sox have been awful with their bullpen. They're a bottom 6 team in terms of bullpen area. Now they have Jordan Hicks on the injury list, but likes of Brian Hudson, Sean Newcomb, Grant Taylor, they've been able to give you sub 350 ERA, but Jordan Leisure, Trevor Richards have been just rough. Sir Anthony Dominguez, not a place where you want to be at the closer's role. I do think that Melton is going to be doing for quite a bit of regression, and I do think that Fetty gives up some runs as well. So like the over, set my total at 8.7, and for the White Sox, any sort of plus money, set this as pretty much a pick 'em. I'm going to be willing to take them on the money line. 921, 922 on the card. It's the Royals. They're going to be on the road against the Rangers as Mackenzie Gore hopes to not get gored for the Rangers, and Stephen Golick is on the bump for the Royals. The Royals do find themselves as an underdog between plus 105 to plus 110. Meanwhile, minus 115 to minus 130 is the number on the Rangers. 8 is the total. Under is minus 115, and the over is minus 105. A little bit of mystery as to whether or not Gore is going to make this start. I set it with Gore at a minus 148, so I'll be in on the money line. I'd reduce this to closer to about a minus 130 or so if it's not Mackenzie Gore, but still, regardless of Gore or not, I probably will be willing to lay this number on the money line, assuming that you do get Mackenzie Gore here. The command has just been all over the place and wonky. I do think that there's going to be some sizable improvement here. 442 ERA, 370 fielding dependent. The 4.3 walks per 9 innings are an issue, but 1 home run allowed per 9 innings. He's been able to get 10.1 strikeouts per 9 innings, and he's been much better at Arlington this season. 263 homer ERA, 581 ERA on the road, and you just look at the way that Arlington is suppressing offense. It's just absolutely wild. For this Walker, Texas Rangers team, they just have not been able to develop offense at home. 3.2 runs per game at home, dead sinking last in all of baseball. They're actually about 4.45 runs per game away from home. That's in the upper half of all of baseball, so that goes to show you just how big it is. And for the Royals, they've been terrible with their offense away from home. 3.04 runs per game away from home. That's a full half a run per game less than the next worst team, which would be the San Francisco Giants. And for the Rangers, even if Mackenzie Gore isn't necessarily his full self in this spot, this is a Rangers team that has been either number 1 or number 2, depending upon the day that you look, in terms of bullpen ERA this season. The Jacobs, Jacob Last, Jacob Junis have been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. Now, they do have Cole Winn on the injury list, but he was probably the weak link in this bullpen. Tyler Alexander, Jalen Beeks, these guys give you a sub 350 ERA. Now, you need a little bit more of the lineup. Obviously, the injuries of Corey Seager, Wyatt Langford have hurt this team, but don't call his name Alejandro Ozuna to be able to give you darn near 400 on base. Ezekiel Duran is sitting above a 270. Josh Young hitting darn near 300. Jake Berger is your main boom guy. 9 home runs going into yesterday. Not really moving the line, though. Brandon Nimmo has been able to. Jock Peterson, not really giving you a lot of power, but he's finding a way on. So the Rangers are doing a better job in terms of finding a way on base. Meanwhile, for Stephen Kulik, I do think that there's going to be quite a bit of regression with him, because while he's been able to do a very good job in terms of keeping things out in front of him, not hurting himself, 270 ERA, that fielding dependent is more around about a 418. He doesn't get a lot of swings and misses. 4.8 strikeouts per 9 innings. Joe Squire, 1 home run, run, 1.7 walks allowed per 9 innings. But as I alluded to, this Royals team just is not hitting on the road to save their lives. They've been much better at home because they moved the fences in at Kauffman Stadium, and you just need more out of Salvador Perez along with Vinny Pasquantino. A combined 14 home runs in neither of these guys, hitting above a 215 or above a 284 with regards to on base. Bobby Witt Jr., 9 home runs over the last about 35 or so days, 350 on base. He's certainly doing his job, but now you've got Carter Jensen hitting at 222, Isaac Collins 330 on base, but still hitting about a 215. Jack Caglione has went into a little bit of a rut, so you've got a lot of these guys towards the bottom of the lineup not doing their job, and for the Kansas City Royals, this bullpen has really fallen on some tough times as far this season because they have Carlos Aceves currently on the injured list. That was one of the main guys for them 8 seasons ago. Now, they're looking a little bit better than they did a bit earlier in the season, but still a 5.02 ERA. That's a bottom 5 mark in the big leagues. Lucas Erceg is giving you a sub-4 ERA. I like what I've been seeing out of some of these mix and match guys, but still, when you've got Steven Cruz give you about a 5 ERA, that makes it a little bit of an issue. You've been able to get good innings out of Matt Strahm, but now he's on the injured list. Nick Mears, Daniel Lynch, these guys have been relatively solid, but Alex Lang have not been so. With Mackenzie Gore on the bump, willing to lay up to minus 147 on the Rangers money line. Not Gore, probably closer to about a minus 130, and I did set a total here of a 7.3, so I'm going to be in on that 8 to the under. Even if it weren't to be Gore, I would still take the 8 under. 923, 924 on the card. The New York Yankees are going to be on the road against the Athletics as Luis Severino is on the bump for the Athletics. Carlos Rodon is on the bump for the Yankees. Yankees minus 144 to minus 155 favorites, plus 125 to a plus 130 is that number on the Athletics. 10 is the total. Under is minus 115 and the over is minus 105. I like the under. I did set my total here at a 9.7 for Carlos Rodon. I don't think that he's back to peak Carlos Rodon form or anything like that, but now he's got a few starts under his belt, and that should be able to help him out quite a bit. He's got a 4.15 ERA through his 3 starts, but he's been able to do a good job with regards to his swing and miss stuff. 11.8 strikeouts per 9 innings, has yet to give up a home run this season. Command has been all over the place. He's got 11 walks in 13 innings. Many of them came in his first 2 starts, so I do think that here in start number 4, he's going to look a little bit better. And for Luis Severino, you just go and take a look at what he's done at home versus away from home. Big giant splits. Last year, he was posting up an ERA about 3 points lower when he was away from home rather than at home. Thus far this season, 5.55 ERA at home, 3.38 ERA away from home. At home, he's given up 6 home runs in 24 and a third innings, 2 home runs given up in 37 and a third innings away from home. So, Sacramento is really heightening offense, to say the least, and for the Yankees, it's interesting because they have been averaging about 5.7 runs per game at home. That's towards the top of the big leagues there. And away from home, a more mortal, like 4.3-ish runs per game. So, it's been very up and down there. You've obviously got 2 guys who have just absolutely carried the load for this team. Aaron Judge, Ben Rice, 16 to 17 home runs apiece, both give you between a 380 to a 385 on base. Cody Bellinger, though, has been a nice number 3. 375 on base, 8 home runs. He's been able to do his job. Jazz Chisholm starting to look a little bit better with a 325 on base, but the infield has still been struggling. The entirety of the catcher spot, Ryan McMahon, you need to get a little bit more there. Paul Goldschmidt has went into a little bit of regression over the last week or so, but he's been a relatively good surprise for the team. And for the Yankees, this has been a solid bullpen outside of David Benner along with Camilo Doval. You expect those to be your top 2 guys, and they really have not been, but then you got Paul Blackburn as a long guy, give you about a 3.25 ERA. Brent Hedrick, Tim Hill, these guys sub 2.75 ERA. Throw in there Fernando Cruz as well. And on the other end, for the Athletics, the bullpen has honestly been relatively okay for this team. I'm not going to go out here and say that they're lighting the world on fire, but Hogan Harris has been able to give you a sub 3 ERA. Justin Sterner about a 381, considering the home ballpark is Sacramento. That's not too bad. Luis Medina has been relatively presentable as well. And for the Athletics, this is a unit that has obviously been quite a bit better with regards to their offense when they've been at home rather than away from home, but the split is not as big as you'd expect. 4.4 runs per game at home, 4.1 runs per game away from home. So that's been interesting to look at because you've got Shea Langolaris giving you 13 home runs, about a 370 on base. Nick Kurtz really doesn't hit for a ton of power right now. 8 home runs in 55 games. I expected more there, but he's been leading the league in walks. So he's been able to find a way on with that 430 on base. Carlos Cortez, 425 on base. He's been great, and Jacob Wilson has been in and out of the lineup along with Brent Rooker. Rooker just has not been himself this far this season, and when Wilson's been out there, he's been hitting at 292. He's still out of the fold for this team, so that's been hurting them. Jeff McNeil has been a little bit up and down as well, so it's an interesting circumstance. You've got Henry Bolte now at the big league level for the Athletics as well, but I do think that Carlos Rodon and company get the job done, and I do think that Rodon looks in relatively good form. So do like the 10 to the under, set by total 9.7 for the Yankees. Set their money line price at a minus 137 if you're looking to lay a run half with them. Right now, you're going to be finding that more in that neighborhood about a plus 105 or so. So I'm going to be waiting for this to go downward with the dime lines because I'm right now seeing a minus 140. I think I should be able to get that minus 137. So minus 136 or better. Going to look at the Yankees, and I'm going to be in on this total to the under. 925, 926. The Twins are on the road against the Pirates. Jared Jones, welcome back to the big league level for the Pirates, and Taj Junko and Milton Bradley goes for Minnesota. Minnesota is an underdog here of anywhere between plus 114 to a plus 122. Meanwhile, minus 134 to a minus 144 is that number on Pittsburgh. It is a total over and under both at minus 110, and we'll take a shot on the Twins, set them at a plus 116 for Taj Bradley. They pushed him back a day with his start. I know that he spent a little bit of time on the injury list, so probably a precaution there, but he's been really good when he's hit the mound. 277 ERA, 326 fielding dependent, showing that good swing and miss stuff they had early on in his career with the Tampa Bay Rays. 7.2 strikeouts per 9 innings, giving up less than a home run per 9. Now he does have to go up against the Pittsburgh Pirates team that's been really good with their offense at home this far this season. Entering into the day on Thursday, third in the league with about 5.45 runs per game. Brandon Lyle, Antonio Cruz, both of these guys have been pretty superb with giving you the deep ball. Both of these guys, 11 plus home runs. Cruz hitting about a 260, Lyle more of a 350 on base. And then outside that, Brian Reynolds, Spencer Horowitz, they've been able to give you above a 380 on base. Nick Gonzalez is hitting about a 300. You've been able to get quite a bit more out of Colin Griffin after some early struggles. He's been solid as well. Some of a few guys like the entirety of the catcher spot, Jackson Garcia. You need a little bit more there, but all in all, pretty solid lineup. And for the Pirates, it's been a bullpen that has been a little bit of an issue for you recently. Dennis Santana above a 4 ERA along with Justin Lawrence after they were really good last season. You don't mess with the Yohan Ramirez. Well, he's been messed with for about a 4.75 ERA. Looks like they might be throwing Carmen Bolzinski into the bullpen after Jared Jones came off the injury list. As for Jones, this is going to be his first start since the 2024 campaign, and I'm very curious to see what you're going to be able to get out of him because prior to him going on the injury list and missing all of last season, it looked like he was going to be one of the aces of this Pirates staff. That 2024 season was posting up a 4.14 ERA, but a lower 4 fielding dependent. Did give up the deep ball, 1.3 home runs per 9 innings, but he was getting darn near 10 strikeouts per 9 innings in his minor league rehab appearances. Only went 18 2/3 innings over the course of his 5 starts, but that swing and miss stuff was back. 11.6 strikeouts per 9 innings, half home run per 9, sub 3 ERA, so he looked relatively solid there. And as we know, this is a Twins bullpen that you probably want as few innings as possible out of them because, well, it's not good to say the least. You've right now got a whole bunch of guys like Travis Adams, Anthony Banda, Yandres Gomez, Taylor Rogers, all posting up an ERA well above a 4. You've been able to get some okay innings out of Cody Funderburk and company, but I ain't past that. Eric Orzay, he's been relatively okay to begin the season, but he had a rough last season. He's back above a 4 ERA as well. Bottom 5 team in terms of open ERA. That said, you've been able to get a lot of boom out of Byron Buxton, 16 plus home runs. He's hitting above a 250. You do love to be able to see that, and you're starting to have someone like a Trevor Lawrence step up, give you about a 370 on base. Orlando Arcia, small sample size, so far so good. We will see what that does moving forward, and then you've had some of these mix and match guys out there in the outfield, like a Ryan Kreidler, do a nice job finding way on. You need more out of the catcher spot with Victor Caratini sticking it up. Tristan Gray has seen a little bit of regression, but I think that Bradley gives you a good start, and first start at the big league level since 2024 for Jared Jones. Do have some question marks here, so I'm willing to take a shot on the Twins at a plus 115 or better on the money line, and like the under, semi-total 7.8. 927, 928 on the card. It's Brewers. They're going to be on the road against the Houston Astros. Kai Wei-Tang is on the bump for the Astros, and Coleman Crow goes for the Brewers. Brewers minus 115 favorites, anywhere between minus 102 to a minus 105. That number on Houston, 8 to 8.5 is the total on the 8. Over is minus 120. The under is even on the 8.5. Under is minus 115. Over is minus 105, and I like the Brew Crew here on the money line. I set them at a minus 126 for Coleman Crow. I believe that he's been like option 3 times this far this season. He's been up, down, all around, but when he's at the big league level, he's been relatively solid. Posting up a 2.61 ERA in his 2 total appearances. I mean, it's nothing that has lit the world on fire, but I mean, in his 2 starts, he gave up 1 walk and no home runs. He's doing a nice job in terms of not beating himself. You look at what he did in Nashville at the AAA level, not amazing. 1.3 home runs, 3.6 walks per 9 innings, 4.89 ERA. So he might be just a, shall we say, beneficiary of a small sample size as of right now. But as we know, the Astros, they're dealing with a lot of injuries. Carlos Correa, Jose Altuve being on the injured list. Now they've got 2 guys in Yordan Alvarez along with Christian Walker that have absolutely supplied for this team. They're up to a combined about 33 home runs. Both of these guys are hitting above a 250. In the case of Alvarez, over a 400 on base. So he has been incredible, but That said, when you get outside those two guys, you really don't have a lot of guys that are knocking your socks off right now, as you still have Joey Looper Fighter on the injury list. So that means that Zach DeZenzo, Zach Cole are both seeing starts. Bryce Matthews, Cam Smith, these are all guys hitting at 225 or lower. Braden Shoemake has been able to give you a little bit of something in the infield, and Isaac Paredes is moving line. Not giving you a lot of power, but he's moving line. But Jeremy Pena has happened himself this season, and for the Astros, dead sinking last in terms of bullpenning ERA right now. Bennett Sosa, Josh Hader being on the injury list have really killed this team. Stephen Oker, Brian King, they've been able to give you a sub-4 ERA, but Brian Abreu has been awful this season. On De Los Santos, well above a 4 ERA. AJ Bluebaugh, about a 4.80 ERA. You just go down the list of untrustworthy guys. It's not even funny. And for the Milwaukee Brewers, they were dealing with a pair of guys in Abner Uribe, Trevor McGill, who had issues towards the beginning part of the season. They were both supplying over a 4 ERA. They seem to be finding it. The alternate up Paul, Grant Anderson, Aaron Ashby, Shane Drone. These are all guys give you a sub-3 ERA. And for the Brewers, they don't rely upon the deep ball. They're a bottom 3 team in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis. As a matter of fact, their leader in home runs is Jake Bauers with 8 right now, but they just find ways to be able to manufacture runs. Bryce Serang, he's giving you 9 stolen bags with a 400 on base. William Contreras, 370 on base. Bauers, about a 360 on base. Garrett Mitchell, a 350 on base. Christian Yelich, a 340 on base. Gary Sanchez, a 360 on base. Like, you just go down the line. They're doing all the little things well. They're bunting guys over. I like the way that the Brewers are performing. And for Kai-Wei Tang, he's one of the few trustworthy guys for the Astros right now. You got a little bit of a cup of coffee at the big league level for the San Francisco Giants. Clearly had good swing and miss stuff. Wasn't able to really control it. He's been able to knock down the walks a little bit more. Last year, 5.2 walks per 9 innings, 3.6 walks this season. About 9 strikeouts per 9 innings. 2.19 ERA. Have to expect some regression here with a 3.55 fielding, depending in, especially if he knocks himself out of the start early, because Tang has not really gone too deep into starts. He's went past 5 innings only once thus far this season. Do think that the Brewers get the job done. Like the oversell, I told it at 8.79, with the Brewers willing to go up to minus 125 on the money line. Wrap things up with 929, 930. The Diamondbacks are on the road against the Mariners. George Kirby goes for the M's. Zach Allen looks to fill it up for the Diamondbacks, and the Diamondbacks do find themselves as a pretty mid-tier underdog here. You're going to be getting them in that neighborhood about a plus 124 to a plus 130. Meanwhile, minus 138 to a minus 158. That number on Seattle. 7 is the total. The over is minus 120. Under is even, seeing a straight 7.5. Under is minus 125. Over is plus 105. I do like the over. I set my total at a 7.7. Zach Allen has always been the king of home and road splits, and boy is a king of home and road splits back at it once again this season. Overall for Gallen, 4.80 ERA, just 6.6 strikeouts per 9 innings. But at home, he's been fine. 3.09 ERA, 0.8 home runs allowed per 9 innings. On the road, 1.6 home runs per 9 innings and a 7.25 ERA. Meanwhile, for George Kirby, pitching to a lot of contact this year. Career low 7.2 strikeouts per 9 innings. Continues to give you about 2.1, 2.2 walks per 9 innings, so he's been solid there, 3.54 ERA. But now he does go up against an Arizona Diamondbacks team that it does feel like they're starting to find it on offense a little bit more. Last year, they were 4th in the big leagues in terms of run creation. Not quite back there, but I am they're a top 10 team right now in terms of run creation away from home. This goes into the top 8, but for the Arizona Diamondbacks, still going to need to get a little bit more out of Lourdes Gurriel. Clearly stopping himself this far this season. Ketel Marte was really struggling to begin the season, but all of a sudden, the Marte Parte is back. 9 home runs, hitting at 275. Guillermo Vargas starting to come back to earth, but he and Corbin Carroll both give you 7 home runs apiece, both hitting above a 290. Nolan Arenado is turning back time. He's giving you about 350 on base, 7 home runs. Need a bit more out of the likes of Adrian Del Castro and company at the bottom of the fold. They traded away Alec Thomas a few weeks ago, so that hurts their depth a little bit. And then on the flip side, you got a Seattle Mariners team that just has been uncharacteristically bad with their offense. Obviously, losing Cal Raleigh and him being on the injury list, that has hurt the team quite a bit. But overall, it's a Seattle Mariners lineup that is about 18th in the big leagues in terms of run creation. They are always a little bit, shall we say, less effective at home rather than away from home because that ballpark really does suppress offense. But Luke Raley, he's been going off the Rayleys. He's been able to give you a double-figure amount of homers. He's been able to about a 264 for the team. And Randy Arozarena continues to move the line. Not necessarily a ton of power, but he's giving you about a 380 on base. JP Crawford is hitting right around the Mendoza line of 200, but he's been able to give you about a 340 on base. Julio Rodriguez up to 10 bombs, hitting about a 260. So it does feel like these guys are starting to round into form a little bit. The Brandon Donovan injury has hurt them, and you need more of the likes of Mitch Garver, Connor Joe, Rob Refsnyder, Leo Rivas. These guys hitting at 215 or lower. But for the Mariners, bullpen has been a top 5 unit in terms of ERA, and this is even with Andres Munoz having a lot of struggles to begin the season. He's been much better recently, but you just go down the list of these guys like a Cooper Criswell is giving you a 333 ERA, and then Matt Brash, Edward Bizardo, Jose Ferrer, they're all below a 225 with their ERA. So I do think that the Seattle Mariners should be able to get the job done here. Set them at a minus 148, willing to lay up to minus 147 there. I do like the over. So my total is 7.7. That'll wrap things up for the Friday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. A big thanks to our guy, William Boor, who does such great work over at Action Network. He joined me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at @GUnit_D1. Keep in mind, the RCM they mean does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. Other ways, find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. I'm with you guys every single day, giving you guys picks and analysis on every game, every day, so I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.